Welcome to the 2025 Australian Open. Quick little preview. Andy and Corbin from Winning in the Shadows. We're just going to go down some of the basics of the Australian Open, the surface. We're going to give you a free play. We're just going to talk about kind of what you should be looking at from a betting perspective. And we're going to give you a special for some tennis plays for all of our plays. Corbin is absolutely insane on tennis. 48 and 18 is his current tennis run, 6-0 run in the Australian Open qualifiers. So first off, congratulations
Thank
to you
you.
on that. Let's talk about the Australian Open. To me, because I'm in the US, the biggest thing is the times.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but for you as a better, the surface is a big part of tennis. So just talk a little bit about the Australian Open, what we have to know about it, the surfaces, kind of the times, the draws. Just kind of go from the top about this tournament.
Yeah, so I think there's 64 matchups on each side, so women's and men's. That means a lot of work for me at this stage of this stage of the tournament. Plays are very wonky times. Obviously, we're managing 3 time zones here. We've got you guys in the US, me in UK, and then Australia is where it's being played. So it's like the plays are going to be at wonky times. The plays coming out are going to be at wonky times. I'm going to try and do my best and get it when we can. The main things to note surface wise, Australia does obvious statement. It's hot, it's humid. That just makes the courts play super fast. It's the same every year, particularly weirdly enough. So there's outside courts, which are the ones like most the players will play on, and then there's like the big stadium courts, which may be under roofs. They get even more humid because if they close the roof, the humidity just rises, skyrockets. It really takes a toll on some of these players. You get good live opportunities when you can see a player really struggling with the humidity and heat. Once you've kind of hit that brick wall, it's very hard to undo that. It just means that the courts end up playing super fast. They tend to suit certain players more than others. You look at like Sinner, these big servers. I mean, you saw last week at some of the other Australian tournaments, the big servers like Opelka and Pechi Periku, they all flew, and their serve was unreturnable because it just flies off the surface. These guys are serving like massive, like I can't remember, like they're like 200 kilometers an hour plus first serve. Some of these guys, you think you and me would be lucky to return just one of those serves. I reckon we could have 50 of those and not return a single one. So obviously these are pro tennis players. But some of them still like recently there's been a couple of players that have not lost a single point on serve in a set. Like that's just crazy. So yeah, it really favors these big aggressive ball strikers. You see it every year. So last year the main one, and you'll relate to this one, is Sabalenka. She can just crush a winner from anywhere on this court. She has so much power, and then just off the surface, it just flies past. The big one that I also remember is Jastrzemska. She was a big one last year. She's an aggressive ball striker, but she kind of comes out of nowhere. She's inconsistent, but she swings so wildly that on these surfaces she hits more than she misses. People like Zverev, Sinner, as I just mentioned, and then you have like the other big names like Alcaraz and Djokovic. They just continue to thrive basically. So
It reminds me of the driving in golf, where like Tiger Woods came along and was like, "My God, this guy's hitting the ball a mile off the drives. Like we all got to get better." And
yeah,
the advantage you have if you can, just smash the what out of the ball, it's a big deal, especially on the surface. So,
yeah.
let's talk a little bit about what people can expect from us. We're running a 30-day tennis pass for only $59. Number one lifetime in tennis plays and units brought in, and the majors are just the big catalyst for this.
Yeah.
So, like, we wanted to run a 30-day pass just because we're coming up on the major, and you're going to get all these plays, and plays have already been released, some of them, and they'll just keep coming out fast and furious. So, A, talk about why the majors are so important, and B, why it's hot and heavy the first few rounds, and then we tail off. Like, you're probably not going to get many plays like for the semifinals and the finals because all the values in these first couple rounds, right?
Yeah, so this is the one where you get complete mismatches. Like the books really haven't caught on. There's certain players that have started the year. So obviously we're only just into January. The preseason's only been going like a week or two. It's really not long, but you can already see some of the improvements some of these players have made. Some have just not practiced at all, and then there's just complete mismatches with players that have somehow come through qualifying or have a wild card against like top 20 players who really don't stand much of a chance. So yeah, we take advantage pretty early. First 1, 2, 3 rounds ideally is maybe how as far as we need to go, quite honestly. The biggest tournaments of the year, the best of 5 sets on the men's, so that really helps. It's the same with the darts that I mentioned. The longer you go, the more likely it favors the better players. They have time to turn it around if something fluky happens, and they can just outlast their opponents. They have far more experience. Someone like Zverev or Djokovic, who can go 5 rounds on any given day, versus someone that barely does 2 or 3 sets. It's like it's a big difference, particularly with the conditions that we've mentioned. So we'll have the plays coming out. So I've done round 1 at the minute, and then as round 2 and 3 comes out, we'll try and put more stuff together, and it kind of goes rolling from there.
So those of you that have the tennis pack, make sure you turn on your
Oh
notifications.
yeah,
It's really important. I know that plays are going to be coming out at weird times. It's a nature of the beast when you have a big tournament in Australia. So I've talked about this. What you have to do, the best way to get notifications, in my opinion, I set up a Gmail account, Andy Lang, wagertalk@gmail.com. And I just tell Wager Talk, just send the plays to this one. And you
yeah,
can go into your phone and you can get a notification that every time an email comes into that account, you get a notification. So there's nothing that Corbin can do about when these plays start. Like
yeah,
Corbin, like round 1 is done, then they start making the matchups, and if we get
yeah,
a weather delay, then like forget about it. There's no way to
yeah,
predict the time. So I promise we'll do our best,
yeah.
but it's just the
like
nature of
like
the
even
Australian
like
Open.
even right now we know who's playing tonight. We haven't like we know who's playing round 1. We have no idea who's playing Monday, who's potentially playing Tuesday. It's kind of all over the place, but yeah, as I said, we'll do our best. The one thing I would say, I have included this in all our plays. When you get the play, I know everyone's in different states, different books, even different countries. I would highly recommend going on one of these odds comparison websites. I say it all the time. There's Oddspedia, Odds Checker, these kind of things. Go on there, just put all you have to do is search the names that I've given you. It'll put them all together and tell you which book is the best value. I would highly recommend doing that. So
Yeah, I mean there are some plays where you put a parlay together and it's minus 190 at one book and minus 140
exactly.
at another book. It's
Yeah.
too big of a difference that you have to kind of take care of that stuff. All right, so Corbin, let's get into some predictions. We don't really do like futures and winners like
No.
into a tournament because that's not really where the value is. But if you had to throw out a couple names on players that you think have a good shot, my girl
Yeah,
Sabalenka.
that
Um,
yeah, that'll be one of them. So quickly, I was just going to touch on some storylines.
oh yes,
The main storylines. It's basically the people that are coming in with no warm ups. You look at like Sinner, Medvedev. Medvedev just had a baby a week ago. Uh, yeah, Sinner didn't play any warm ups. Like they're practicing, they're playing practice sets against all the top players at the minute. But quite a few people chose to not play the United Cup or any of these Adelaide, Auckland tournaments, whereas some people did. So it's factoring in, like some people are still off playing in a different part of Australia right now and are flying in to play their first round match in a day or two. So you got to factor that in. And then the main ones are the drug allegations that are still going on. I'm not sure if you heard about this. Sinner, Swiatek, arguably the top 1 or 2 players on each side of the draw, getting found guilty of drug charges and then not guilty, and then inquiries. It's kind of been rumbling on for a while. I don't expect either of these to have any kind of impact on this tournament, but it is something definitely to watch going forward. Predictions for the tournament, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's the 2 favorites are going to probably win here. On the men's side, it's Sinner. He has such an easy draw. He We'll get to his quarter in a minute, but he doesn't really play anyone of significance to the semi-finals. He's mentioned in the build-up to this tournament that he's improved like so many minor things, that like he's tweaked his serve slightly. It only takes a few percentage. Like he already won this tournament last year. If he's improving all these little things by even 1% or something, it's just I think he's going to be unbeatable here. So he's plus 120 for the whole tournament. Again, I don't tend to play futures because all it takes, you could probably bet Sinner every game or at various points during the games and get a better price by the end of it. All it takes is him to be down. Like you saw in last year's final, I think he was down 2 sets. You could have grabbed him in the final at a better price than the outright. Um, on the women's side, it's just Sabalenka, plus 225 for the tournament. I think she's going to have a few more issues this year than she did last time. The last 2 years, she's kind of cruised, not really had much threat. She hasn't looked as good to start the year. Like she's still winning comfortably,
How
but
dare you?
she's not
Dare you?
quite as good as the last years. So a play that you can put together, which I think is quite interesting, is both of them to win their quarters is plus 122. I'd
Mm.
much rather go that way. Sinner's only threat in his quarter is Dimonor, but he matches up really well against him. Outside of that, there's just guys like Tsitsipas, who's a dumpster fire. There's really no one to threaten him on the quarters side. Sabalenka has last year's finalist Zheng, but again, she beat her last year. Zheng doesn't look the same player that she was last year. She has a few young and up and comers who I think may be able to cause her troubles at times, but I don't think they're going to get the win over her. Like she has Andreeva, she's got a pretty good record over Andreeva. She beat her in straight sets this year already. I really don't see much threat there. So yeah, my two picks are sadly the obvious ones, Sinner and Sabalenka. So
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's square, like the obvious ones, as long as it hits, no big deal. So,
true.
let's do a free play here. I'll let you talk us through this one. I believe this is a round one play, right?
Yeah. So this is Tanasi Kokonakis money line over Safulin minus 150. This is Kokonakis' home tournament. He's Australian. He loves this tournament. He plays well here every year. He has such a strong serve, which I mentioned is key. He's quite an aggressive ball striker, which, as I mentioned at the start, really helps him here. He has great fitness as well, which I think could be important here. We've seen him have so many 4 and 5 set thrillers over the years. I remember one particularly had in Australia versus Murray a few years back. If this goes 5 sets, I think it's Kokonakis is to win quite easily. He had 2 wins to start the year. He saw this draw. He pulled out of his next game, so he's been in Melbourne focusing on this matchup for a few extra days, which I think really helps. Safulin's just really inconsistent, to be honest. He had a good stretch about a year and a half ago, and it kind of feels like everyone's still expecting that guy to turn up. He's so inconsistent. He doesn't perform to that level anymore. He's lost both games to start the year. He served really poorly, and in a best of 5 set match, if you're struggling to serve in a best of 3, I can't imagine that you're gonna have that kind of success versus Kokonakis. So I'm gonna take the homeboy to win here at minus 150 ish.
That's going to be a client play, and that's included in the 30 days of tennis for only $59. It's almost a 50% discount. Take advantage of that. The majors and tennis is where Corbin has made his his bread and butter
Yeah,
off of tennis. So, and again, a 48-18 run in tennis, 6-0 in the Australian Open qualifiers. So, and tennis is what introduced Corbin to me.
it was.
You
I
and I,
didn't know if you remembered.
yeah, you and I met through the UFC show, and you said tennis is the sport I do the
Mhm.
most damage, and that's when we started collaborating.
I
So
remember it was I think it was Wimbledon about two maybe 3 years ago at this point. I lost track, but I remember I sent you plays for that in the first couple of rounds and kind of escalated from there.
I was
So
like, "What are these? What are these plays?" And that's the best part. Everyone is focused on college football playoffs, and everyone's focused on NFL playoffs. Don't get me wrong, we are too. Look, we're totally gonna watch, but for bankroll, like this is a business. It's a results driven industry. Where can we make the most money? It's not in the NFL playoffs. It's in sports like tennis and this Australian Open. So watch all the football you want. You don't even have to watch these tennis plays. In fact, that's the best part. Put the plays in, wake up, and cash these tickets. So 30 days for only $59. If you've never done tennis with us before, really, really encourage you. It's been a bankroll builder for a while. Number one since Corbin started doing tennis plays at Wager Talk. Number one lifetime since you started putting in plays. So great work, Corbin, as always. I don't think people understand how much time you put into these first few rounds.
yeah.
It's a ton, but it is 100% worth it at the end of the third or fourth round when you see the units.
Yeah,
It's worth it.
I might need to sleep after this. The amount of
You
hours I've been going.
You deserve it. You deserve it. So that's why Corbin wasn't on the NFL show with us. It's like I got to concentrate on Australian Open. So go grab that 30 days. Good luck on all your plays, guys. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. Reach out to us on Discord. If you're not part of the Discord, so Winning in the Shadows Discord, will put a link in the description. Like-minded people.
Would highly recommend that with live play. I'm going to be putting live plays throughout. Live betting on tennis is great. So
I
get
haven't
involved.
figured it out, but man, you and several others have
Mhm.
done it as well. So join the Discord because there's a lot of really good live betting opportunities that I just tail other people. I don't try and outthink it. I just tail Corbin and some of the others. So really good work being done in the Discord. No trash talk. It's no nonsense. It's people that treat their bankroll like a business. So I think you'll find a lot of really good, valuable information in that. So thanks everyone for joining us. Reach out to us on Discord if you got any questions about the tennis pack. Reach out to us in the comment section and let us know some of your best bets. We always love reading the comments. Good luck on your plays, and we'll see everyone later.
Good luck.